Hey, everybody. So welcome to House Calls, the podcast. Tonight, we are getting into the sailing world, which Matt and I have a pretty illustrious sailing history, but it stopped before modern day competitive sailing. But we are interviewing Zander King, who is a national champion sailor from Tulane. He actually won a very impressive award. He won Best Male Teammate for all of Tulane sports this year.
That's awesome.
He graduated this year. I'm excited to talk to Zander. We've known his family, the Corcoran family, which is his mom's family. We've known his mom for forever. She is no longer with us, but she, I know, had a huge influence on his sailing career as well as his dad. We've known him. We've watched him grow up, and I'm really excited to find out about him.
Yeah, real quick, that's a really impressive award. Has anyone ever thought about giving you an award like that, being the best teammate? Have you ever been on the short list for best teammate?
So honestly,
I'm going to answer that for you. No.
I think
so this is going to be really educational for you.
I've always been a good teammate in my medical career. With sports, my weakness was I just don't like to pass. It's a trust issue. How do I know they're going to get the job done? Right. But here's a little health thing. We are a health podcast. So my son, Roddy, is making, these are called ginger shots. It's lemon juice, ginger, cayenne, and turmeric. And it is supposed to give me good digestive health. It's supposed to be anti-inflammatory for my joints. I personally think it will give me focus and superpowers. So
all right. Let's see you do shots. Oh boy. Don't spit it out your nose. Don't spit it out. Oh yeah. Silky smooth, huh?
Oh
wow.
My God.
Well, that's impressive. Well, I like the way you get ready, because the way my shot is a Twizzler. So I'm going to have a Twizzler real quick to get fired up for Zander. And my way is way better than yours.
Oh my gosh, that cleared out my sinuses.
Right? You didn't even know your sinuses were clogged. All right. Well, I'm excited to talk to Zander, learn more about him and his sailing passions. And let's get this party started, Ty. We've done shots, we've had Twizzlers, we've talked, we've laughed, we cried, and it's go time. I know you are.
All right.
Go time.
Here's Zander.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to a new edition of House Calls, the podcast. Tonight, Ty, House, and I are talking to somebody that we've known for a long time, but we don't have a lot in common with because, A, he's younger, cooler, has more hair, and he's a sailor. Ty and I both stopped sailing right before email was invented, I believe. Is that right, Ty?
Yes, but that doesn't mean I'm not willing to make a comeback.
Well, that's great. When you were tutored the way we were by the likes of Matt Lewandowski and Chip Mortimer, it's amazing that we're alive today and we weren't lost at sea.
So Zander, let's start. I know that you have always been involved in sports. I've watched you play lacrosse a lot when you were younger. I think I've watched you play soccer. You're a very athletic guy. Tell us about how you first got into sailing.
Yeah, so I definitely had a late start to my journey. Like, if you talk to a lot of other college sailors, a lot of my friends start from a very early age, where their parents put them in the sailing camp, and you kind of grow from the beginner sailing camp, where it's kind of similar to what we do in Sherwood with the bugs, where you're just kind of sailing around, nice and fun and easy, and then you grow into more of the racing stuff. And I never really did that as a kid. Obviously, my family, my mom, my dad are very big into sailing, but they never really pressured it on me. It was kind of always around, something fun to do for me, but never in a racing setting. Until about my 8th grade summer, which is a pretty late start. I went out with my dad one night and did a Thursday night sailing. And honestly, I was hooked after that. We were out, they were drinking beers. It was very fun, casual, nice Annapolis sunset. And I could really see myself in that situation. And going into Severn, they had a very talented and good team. So I was okay, I'm going to try it out and do that in the fall. So that's how I got started with it. It was a little bit late, but definitely a good decision for me.
Absolutely. Obviously, you grew up on the Severn River. Your high school had a sailing team. And so when you say a lot of other people started earlier, what's earlier, 5 years old, 10 years old?
Yeah.
How far behind were you, I guess?
So you could start the camp process about 5, but okay. I would say people don't start racing until the 8 to 10 age. And that's in these little opties. They're called they're little mini bathtubs, kind of like the bugs that we have. and that's like the junior sailing scene. And a lot of people like spend like fall, summer, spring, like everything, their whole year is doing that. Like they don't really do too many other sports some of the
Right.
times.
Now, did your mom sail in college?
Yes,
Okay.
she was an All-American actually,
Oh,
and
cool.
she didn't sail before college, but came in, joined the team, and became an All-American.
Do you remember sailing as a child with your parents?
Yeah, like we would take like the Steele's boat and go
Uh-huh.
cruise around the bay, and we would do like BVI sailing like vacations. So always like leisurely and fun. Like it was never pushed on me as like, oh, you need to go out there and race, which like I've definitely seen that from some other people where they're kind of forced into it and don't like it until they're a little bit older. But for me, it was always like an enjoyment of the water and another fun thing to do. But it was never like my main sport. Like as you said, like lacrosse and soccer were probably my two bigger sports, tennis.
So wait, Zander, wait, I'm sorry. So Ty and I will definitely cut each other off at least double
All
digit
good.
times. But so back to your mom though, she went to college of Charleston, right?
Yep.
And so did she go down there with the intent to join the sailing team, or she just stumbled into it? I didn't know that.
I don't think so. So I think she stumbled into it more like what, especially like, this still happens, but people will go around campus and they'll see someone who like is athletic. Like she obviously grew up around the water,
Right.
and is kind of like the right like smaller size, and it's like, hey, like you want to join the sailing team. And a lot of clubs are still like that today, where people get into it in college, and you can quickly go from like not knowing anything. If you're like athletic and like sharp and like willing to learn, you can get into it pretty quick.
Very cool.
Can a big person sail?
Yes, but in like the college setting, it's a little bit more difficult.
Uh-huh.
So it's like pretty wind dependent. Like with the windier it gets, the more we call them heavies. So like you'll have like a big guy like me or like one of my teammates will be crewing for another guy or women's skipper because you need that weight outward to keep the boat flat.
Okay.
But as you get older, like you can be like 300 pounds and sail a keelboat and it's no problem.
So Ty, you can do this. You are a heavy, so you'll be all set.
And your dad sailed, but he didn't sail in college. He played lacrosse in college, but he sailed right up in New York.
Yeah. So he sailed growing up. He wanted to be like a two sport athlete and try to sail and play lacrosse in college, but his coach wasn't really too into that. So he ended up playing at Penn State. But definitely, kind of like sailing's been his passion, and like ever since then has been something he's like really kept up with.
Okay. What is sailing racing like? Like Matt and I have watched the sailboat races from afar, but what's the rules?
So the rules. So I would say the best way to like kind of describe it at like a high level is like it's like you're playing chess while doing like an F1 race. So you have like a lot of different factors going on. Strategy, tactics, and speed are like the big three pillars. So you got to keep your boat going really fast. There's a lot of different controls and sail trim and steering techniques and all these conditions to like make your boat go fast versus the other boats, which are usually pretty similar. And then you have strategy, which is like which side of the course do I want to go to? And it's usually so you go upwind, downwind, downwind finish. And there's no race is the same. So the left side can be favored, the right side can be favored, the starting line can be favored. So there's the strategy aspect, and then the tactics is like how am I going to interact with the other boats on the course? Because there's rules about how you interact with other boats. You can't just hit another boat. So there's starboard right away, port has to give way. So there's a lot of stuff happening at the same time. It's like a very multitasking sport, which makes it pretty interesting.
Can the boats bump? Like if the boats bump, are you disqualified, or like how?
So
strict
that's like a penalty, and sometimes it's a disagreement between like who thinks who's at fault. But generally, it would be like a 720 a spin. So you have to turn your boat in two circles, which basically slows you down a lot.
Wow. So this is such a novice question. The start, right? Obviously, you guys are all kind of like moving. Like, is it a moving start? Like, it's not like a race where you can all line up and at the same time go.
So it kind of is. So it's a 3-minute countdown.
Okay.
So there's a big gun that goes. Everyone sets their watch for 3 minutes, and there's a pin. There's a start boat and a pin, and all the boats will be lined up between the start boat and the pin. And at go, as long as you're not crossing the line, you'd be over early. Then that's the start of the race.
Got it.
So that's like one of the most important parts of racing is being good at starting, because there's going to be a favored side. There's going to be anywhere from like 5 to like 90 boats on the line. So it can get very crowded and chaotic. And that's like the people who can be good at starting, you get an easy entry into the race.
You keep talking about the tactics, right? You play golf, you can play a golf course. It's not going to change dramatically day to day, right?
Yep.
If you have multiple races on the same, river or ocean or whatever, it could change morning to afternoon drastically.
100%.
So talk about that and how you figure out what is the dominant side or which side you want to be on at that start.
Yeah. So for the changing conditions part, like that's one aspect of sailing that makes it kind of interesting is like you're never really getting the same thing. You can get different every venue. Like for college, we sail at a bunch of different venues, which kind of offer different conditions. Like you can have big 6-foot waves and 20 miles per hour wind, or you can have 5 knots and dead flat and shifty or everywhere in between that. So people definitely have skills between different conditions, but the best sailors, you can't let the conditions affect you, and you're going to be good in every condition.
Do you get canceled for weather, like anything? I mean, obviously lightning, you get canceled, but do you get canceled for cold or too windy or not enough wind or rain or anything like that?
Cold is rare. Too much wind would be like above like 30 miles per hour.
Uh-huh.
So like they'll keep us, especially in college, they'll keep you out there in pretty gnarly stuff, but it's rare that they'll cancel for wind. For not enough wind is pretty common depending on the time of year. So we just got back from nationals. The first day of nationals, didn't sail a single race. We sat around from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Just trying to get one race off, and there was just not enough wind. The direction kept changing. It was too light. So that's definitely like an unfortunate part of the sport, but it happens.
So when you were in high school, what size boats are you sailing? What's your crew? And then how does that change when you go to college?
Yeah, so high school and college they're pretty similar. It's like a 16-foot boat, 2-person. So you have a skipper and a crew. The skipper's in charge of like driving and trimming the main sheet, and the crew's in charge of the jib sheet and like kind of like the weight placement of the boat. And college is like a pretty similar, it's like the same format, just a lot more refined in terms of skill and competition. Like everyone's that much better and the margin for error is that much less.
So if you get recruited as crew or recruited as skipper, and that's kind of your role for all, forever?
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say the best are good at both. Like,
sure.
I was recruited went in as a skipper, and typically you'll see like freshman, sophomore year, guy skippers will be like heavy wind crews for like kind of the older people. And then you also see like women skippers become crews and men skippers become heavy wind crews for women. So like the best people are flexible, but you definitely specialize in one or the other, I would say.
And what does the actual team look like? So how many boats are there, and are you always with the same partner season to season? Do you like switch between matchups? Like how does that work?
Yeah, I would say so. Our team specifically, like we have 38 people, and that's probably about how our team will stay in general. We have about 8 to 10 guys, and then the rest are women, kind of to help with the Title IX thing. So definitely a women's heavy team because we have the co-ed and the women's side. But in terms of like choosing pairings, it's definitely a hard part for the coach. I would say the top like 3 to 4 boats usually have the same pairing throughout the season, so they can kind of get used to each other. And like when they're competing, it's going to be the same 2 people. And the rest of the team will kind of like assimilate into like a pairing that works well for them and for the team. But it really changes day to day. Like if it's windier, you're going to get someone heavier. If it's light or if someone's sick, like it changes around a lot. And that kind of goes into like the whole like adaptability part of the sport is like you need to go out with someone you've never sailed with and still have a good day sometimes.
A couple things. Are there coaches' decisions? Are all the boats the same for your team, like within your team? And then are they the same for your opponent? So there's no element of like, oh, that school won, they got better boats.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be boats that are like older, but especially for like the nationals level, like they're the same like specifications. And like they might be a little bit different, but that's not really like it's not really a big factor. Versus like if they're sailing in like Europe or something, you're showing up and it's a completely different boat. We're using the same boats at every venue.
And then how does your coach like on say, let's say game day or sailing day? Like what do they do? Or is it all prep work before and decisions of matching up the sailors?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's a lot of prep work, like, but a lot of sailing's also like kind of inner. Like when you're out there, like the coach isn't just one on one with someone the whole time. It's a lot of you learning from your teammates and teaching yourself along the way. Like you have a race, you learn from your mistakes, and it's a lot of self taught. The coach has a lot of like nuanced stuff where it's like he'll teach the team or people and set the drills so he knows that we're training properly. So that's the preparation part of it. And then the actual regatta day, the coach is determining who's sailing, trying to give a little bit of a like pep talk, keep the positive energy for like just for the sailors to like be in the right headspace, and then being able to like diagnose like how the course is going to be running that day, like maybe which side could be best. But even that really goes to the sailor. He kind of keeps away from that. It's more about the personnel change and kind of the mindset part of it.
So do you have like teams within your team, two people teams? This guy and girl, skipper and crew, are really good with heavy winds. It's a rough sea, but it's not like you have your first team, team 1, team 2, team 3. It changes maybe on the conditions.
It does, but we try to steer away from that. Like we generally, and you would see most teams generally have like a top 2 skippers or top 2 or 3 skippers who will sail in all conditions, whether it's 20 miles per hour and they have like a big guy crewing for them, or it's 6 knots and they have like a really small girl crewing for them.
Got it.
But you'll see like typically the best sailors can kind of keep it consistent in all conditions.
Is there any weight equalizer? Like there's no weigh-ins like
No, not in college sailing discipline. There's not. In some like stuff there's weigh-ins and max weight limits and stuff like that. But
and then you were a big participant in the sprint challenge because you're fit.
Mm-hmm.
What's the role of fitness in sailing?
Yeah, so I'd say it's definitely increased a lot. So our team, we have a full-time trainer that works with us. We lift twice a week. And even though that's not enough for like what sailing actually demands, it's great to like kind of learn from that trainer and kind of implement your own plan. I was a big fan of the sprint challenge because like I like to run to try and stay like a little bit leaner. Like I would say I'm a bigger guy for college sailing, so running kind of helps me stay like on the leaner side versus lifting. But sorry, 1 second.
Oh, you need some turmeric. You need a turmeric shot.
So you miss the advertisement for Roddy's what did I call it? Ginger shot. It's ginger, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and turmeric. And
that's what I need. Yeah,
it'll wake you up.
Yeah, but fitness is very important. So I would say for sailing, it's more of a mental fitness, and then the windier it gets, the more physically demanding it is. Like you're hiking, so your legs are propped up against a hiking strap and leaning outward. So you're engaging your core, your legs, your arms, trimming the sheets. But think about doing that from 9:30 in the morning until 7 p.m. So it's a full day of nonstop racing on and off.
So your first day sailing, having a great time with your dad while he had a couple beers, you're not doing that at competitive sailing at college level.
Unfortunately not, but now that I'm graduated, I will be.
Okay. There you go. So Ty, last summer you and I did go out on a leisurely sail excursion with Captain Chuck, if you remember.
Oh, we did. Yes,
we did.
That was
and you were horrendous.
Yes.
You were heavy and you were horrendous.
Yeah, I was heavy and horrendous. But I can tell you, so back in the 80s, Matt and I were sailors.
That's right.
And there were 2 sailors. We sailed puffers in the camp that you grew up in. But there was a lot of trying to ram boats, trying to turtle boats.
Yeah.
And Chip Mortimer was the head of the sailing program, and he is a legendary sailing coach.
Happy Pop?
No, his son.
Okay.
So
next generation.
After this, is the next generation. This guy he knew more about sailing than anybody on the Severn at the time, and he called me shit for brains because I was so good at turtling boats. And our own camp counselor was a guy named Bobby Kropp, and he was helping us unturtle the boat, kicking as hard as we can. And I kicked him in the nose and broke his nose. Sorry, Bobby.
So again, that's another. Wait, didn't last time you said you only broke 3 noses?
Yes.
All right, so now the truth is finally coming out.
But we do have another sailing story. Was my uncle had a 40-foot sailboat, and we were his crew. So
that's right.
My uncle Roddy would take his 2 nephews, me and Eric, our friends Phil and Matt, or sometimes it was our cousins Chuck and Jared Dawson, and we would sail across the bay. And we were racing. There were no rules, just racing across the bay back and forth.
That's what we call rail meet. When you're out there drinking a beer, sitting on the side, like you don't have to worry too much about it, but you're there, you're enjoying.
Yeah. We were good at that.
As I actually remember, that was a time where Xander's too young for this, but Matt can vouch. Coors beer was actually illegal east of the Mississippi, and we were running beer across the bay, trying to get away from the police boats or whatever. And I would be on a jet ski in front trying to distract all the police boats so the sailboat could get across the bay. Is that what you remember, Matt?
Yeah, no, you are so Burt Reynolds and I am so Jerry Reed. Yep. That's 100%. That's the way I totally remember it. And
but there were no rules. Like you were allowed to bump, you were ramming speed, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And that's what so I did my first two summers of college. I taught sailing. And we like to keep it fun like that, like flipping, playing tennis ball tag, like really just like hounding in like the enjoyment of the water and the boats, and the camaraderie of sailing is such a big part of the sport. Like college gets very intense and it's fun to some extent, but it's also just there's so many ways to enjoy the sport, which I love.
How about the thrill of the competition?
Yeah, it's intense, and the thrill of the boat, like the adrenaline of like going super fast, like there's that aspect of it, but your nerves are pretty high. Like you get really pretty worked up, and you can start yelling at people over on the other side of the course. Like sailors are very competitive, so I would say that.
Yeah, I think that's obvious. And what you don't want is some sailor yelling at you from like 8 boats away. That can be pretty scary, I'm sure.
Or fun.
What's your feeling on canoeing across the river? Have you ever done that?
I probably have at some point.
Okay. It's a different story for a different podcast. So you've graduated from Tulane. Yep. How do you fill that void of the lack of competitive racing or that competitiveness in your life going forward?
Yeah. So on the sailing aspect, like it's really however much I want to get into it. Like I can go join a different class, a different type of boat, and I could race that as intensely or unintensely as I want. Me personally, like I've had the last 4 to 8 years of pretty intense racing. I'm excited for like the more laid back, like sailing with my dad and sailing around Annapolis, like kind of every once in a while on the weekends. But I'm also excited to kind of dive into some more sports and get competitive in like another sense. Like, I mean, I'm moving to Baltimore, but maybe doing some like volleyball, tennis, like kind of branching out a little bit to get like the competitive kind of high heart rate activities, but always going to be staying connected with the sailing aspect.
Sure.
What are you looking for as an occupation?
I have a job. I start in August. I'm working as a VC analyst for a Stepstone.
Ty, that's venture capitalist. Yeah. He doesn't understand money. He doesn't understand money or technology.
I know doctor, lawyer, baker.
Yeah, that's really about it. Yeah.
Subset of banker.
Yeah, exactly.
So what as you're out of college and that kind of sailing, do the boat sizes change and the size of the crews change, and you decide what you want to do?
Yeah, it's like that's another interesting aspect is like there's a massive range. Like I can stay in like a 15-foot boat, or I can go to like 50 to 100-foot boat. Like what my dad has is a J22. It's like a 22-foot boat, 3 to 4 people. So, and that's a keel boat. So it's a little bit less intense than what we call a dinghy, which is what like we sail in college. And that's like a great one where it's like, it's still competitive. Like the racing is still very intense, very talented sailors, but you can kind of relax a little bit more, have a beer on the way in. And it's a little bit less like physically demanding, I would say.
So does that mean that your dad's about to kick out one of the guys on his team for you?
Yeah, probably.
What's that going to be?
There's always a rotation, but he'll always kick someone out for me, which is nice.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Well, we're breaking news then.
Yeah.
Ty touched on it, but you received which I think is probably one of the greatest awards you can get, best teammate across all sports at Tulane. That's so impressive and so awesome. Talk about that. Talk about like how surprised you were, or that whole experience.
Yeah, thank you. I was definitely surprised. Like we have this it's got like an award ceremony called the Green Globes, and our team will get nominated for a couple things every once in a while. Like we won the national championship. We were nominated for like best team, but we haven't really won too much. So when that award came up and I was nominated, I was like, oh, that's an honor to be nominated. Like I didn't really expect much. There's the football players and the tennis players. So when I actually won it, I was like pretty shocked, but it was nice having all the support from my teammates, like, and hearing that aspect of it. But it was definitely a special moment and something special to remember from my experience there.
So do your teammates vote on it? How do you win that one? Like who votes on it?
I think so. I think through like there's like the student athlete enhancement or athletic committee.
Okay.
And one of my teammates like submitted me and gave some reasons. I think.
That's great. I mean, that's really, really impressive.
You're a humble guy, but would you say what's your leadership style? Are you the rah-rah like Ray Lewis in the locker room speech? Or are you leading by example?
Yeah, I've tried to like become a little bit more rah-rah, but that's not my style. I'm definitely a lead by example. So this year was my third year as a captain. After my freshman year, I was like shocked when I was voted captain. But I think that really was kind of the lead by example, which got me there. Because like my freshman year, I was trying to be always the first one to rig and launch and organize events for the team and team bonding. And I think kind of like that mindset that I brought to the team kind of got me voted, which I was not expecting to be voted at all. And that's like the lead by example that I've definitely tried to keep up the last couple of years. And I've been able to ramp up the last 2 years as like more of the senior upperclassman leader on the team.
So I do want to get into the recruiting process and like what makes somebody get recruited and how you stand out just for anybody who's interested in sailing. But before we get into that, Annapolis is a hotbed for sailing. Like we're one of the sailing capitals of the world, right?
Yep, 100%.
Why is that? Like, what is it about the Chesapeake Bay, the winds? How is it such a hotbed for sailing?
It's an interesting question because in the summer, like summers in Annapolis are like, obviously we all love them, but the winds aren't necessarily the best here. Like you got Newport up north, San Francisco out west. Like there's a lot of places with better wind. I think kind of we're centrally located with a lot of water access and it kind of draws a lot of people in the surrounding area to this place. And honestly, probably a history thing. Like we were probably one of the earlier people to get started with it. And the yacht club itself and the other clubs around have built very good programs for youth sailors and people to come in to do regattas and stuff. And I think we kind of held our title in that way versus like in the winter, you have Miami, the summer is like Annapolis, Newport. But the winds, like the weather is not necessarily the best here, but I would say the people is kind of what definitely keep it going.
And then what makes it so somebody is recruitable? Like what sets you aside?
So obviously like results is like the number one thing. So like when you're trying to get recruited, you'll have like a sailing resume and it's like, I got third at North Americans and I got 10th at nationals. And you can kind of see someone's like track record of like how they've performed. But then also a lot of coaches, some more than others, look at like a kid's personality and like they want to meet them and see like whether this person's like someone who's like, some people are naturally talented, but maybe won't work that hard. My coach definitely looks for the people who are like maybe the second or third or fourth skipper on their team who have the talent, but really want to work hard to be that top person versus that person who can go out there and just win races, but doesn't really care about putting in the work and caring for the team in a team first mindset. So I would say like trying to meet the people and understand like what they do outside of sailing is also important, especially to my coach.
Did you have any, besides your dad, did you have any mentors at that really stand out either at the yacht club or at Severn?
Matt Lewandowski or Chip Mortimer, you mean?
At Severn, the yacht club, like I definitely had coaches and friends over the years that that helped me, or I definitely had older teammates so I was in the Severn, like very talented team. We got third at nationals like 2 years in a row, and we're always like in contention. So I would say there's like 2 or 3 grades of people above me who are like some of the best people in college sailing, and just being able to look up to them and like practice against them every day has been very big. But obviously, my dad's been my biggest mentor, sailing and outside. And then when I got to school, I had an upperclassman who was a great like leadership mentor. So my sophomore year, when I was voted captain, he was the senior captain, and being able to kind of like take a step under him and not like take over the team my sophomore year, being able to learn from him and do that was he was definitely a massive mentor to me.
So there's a story about picking out mentors where they told Babe Ruth, who is from Baltimore,
Mhm.
uh,
He's a huge fan of the podcast. Huge fan.
how to have a great swing. They told him, pick out a great player swing. And he always said Shoeless Joe Jackson was good enough for him, meaning he copied Shoeless Joe Jackson's swing and became the greatest hitter in the history of baseball. When you're sailing, were the upperclassmen who had a big influence on you, were you kind of looking and saying, this is the way he works out, this is the way he eats, this is the way he sleeps, takes care of his body, these are the decisions he makes on the practice days, on the sailing days? Or was it more them like talking to you? Or was it more you watching them?
I would say it's definitely more more watching and competing against them, like head on head racing. Like you can see like what kind of boat handling they're doing and how they're rigging and tuning their boat and how they're mentally preparing for the sport. Honestly, nutrition and working out like in high school was not a big part of the sport at all until we came to college. It was like more of our college thing. We had a trainer and everything that would kind of get me into that. But the mentor part definitely came from like, wow, this person's really good. This is what they're doing to prepare, and this is how they're actually doing it, and kind of trying to mimic that a little bit.
So when you're in college, what is the length of the season? I think it's year round, I would think.
Pretty much. So we show up like a week before school. We're like August 12th, 10-ish, and we go until the second week of November. So we're pretty much all fall. Then we get back, have a couple weeks, and we start February 1st and go until last week. So end of May.
What a commitment.
But it's mentally it's definitely a lot, and
Yep.
Our coach tries to give a little bit of break time here and there, because when you're on, it's like Monday's off, Tuesday through Thursday or Friday you're practicing, and then Friday through Sunday you're traveling someplace on the East Coast, and you do that 4 or 5 weekends in a row. It can definitely be like pretty mentally taxing.
Absolutely.
What does practice look like? Like, what's a typical practice?
So typical practice, we have like, say our Tuesday, Thursday schedule is we have a 7 a.m. lift, get done 8 o'clock. We leave for the venue, and we sail from 8 to 12. And it really depends what we're working on. Like one day it could be all about speed and boat handling. The next day could be more of like a tactical day. So we'll try to like create situations where all the boats are mixed up and a little jumbled, and you have to kind of work your way out of it and try to get off a good race. And then some days will be full race days where you go out there and do a couple races, and coach will keep score.
Did you feel like your sailing improved a ton, like physically or mentally, during those 4 years?
100% on both fronts. So physically, I've gotten into working out and like nutrition a lot more in the last like 2 or 3 years. And honestly, that's been more on my own. Like I enjoy that aspect of it. But as a sailor, even though I'm not like one of the top 2 or 3 on my team, I've progressed like leagues above where I was in high school. And just the amount of reps and hours you spend on the water, like even like the worst person on our team is still like a very talented sailor. And that's what you really like to see from like the team aspect, is like the whole team is getting better. Like our practices are very competitive. Like one of the worst boats can go out there and win a race like any day. And that's what you like to see. And sailing is definitely like similar to golf or some other sports like that. It's a very mentally taxing sport. Like I said earlier, like you're spending all day on the water, and it's all about consistency. So if you have a bad hole, you put up a double bogey, triple bogey. If you have a bad race, your scores add up over the whole course of like the 18 races. So you can't let that affect you. You have to go out and just put up consistent races, and you can't be mentally riding like the highs and lows of a really good race or a really bad race. And I feel like the last 4 years I've been like, I've had moments where I'm like, okay, I'm sailing so well, like I'm happy, I'm doing well. Then I'll have a couple of weeks where I'm like not sailing well, and mentally I would just like put a lot of pressure on myself and let it affect me outside. But I've definitely like refined that to like the point where it's like I'm mentally very consistent, like not letting sailing affect my outside life or my mental well being. And that was definitely a good like transition and practice that I've made.
So Xander, when you're talking about the boats that you sail on, and your team has a fleet of boats, I'm just curious about this. Does everybody have like their favorite boat, even though they're all basically the same? But do you have like, that one's mine, and that's one I like?
Me personally, no. Like, so we have like colored sails, so people will be like, "Oh, that color is like a sick color. This one's pretty ugly." So like more like that. But I wouldn't say there's like a faster boat or like a slower boat.
I want to cut you off. I'm still back at the nutrition part. So what? Because there is a very famous sailor man who had great nutrition, and I want to know what you mostly ate, and did you ever have spinach?
Spinach. I occasionally eat spinach, but not as much as Popeye.
Okay, but what is your? It's not easy to narrow down your nutrition in college. So what were you trying to eat to give you energy?
Yeah, so I would say our team's nutrition improved a lot. We had a nutritionist this year who is a lot more hands-on with our team than she has been in the past. So we learned a lot about like eating carbs before working out and like what's a good snack versus full meal, kind of eating the different food groups. And sailing's interesting because you'll go out, you'll do 2 races. That'll be like about an hour for like that set, we call them. And then you come in, you've about like 5 minutes to like drink, eat whatever you need to, and then go back out. So we're trying to do like quick like gummies, quick like electrolytes and sugar like that, and then also like quick carbohydrates like a bar. A lot of people do like the go-go squeezes. Like I like peanut butter crackers or like a granola bar or something. And then if you have a little bit more time in between, do like a sandwich or something like that.
And then how do you deal with the stress of being a college student, trying to get good grades, being at all these practices, plus the ton of traveling? Like that's different than sports.
It was definitely a learned thing. And I would say like being in New Orleans and around my team definitely helped a lot. I got better over the last couple of years. Like my freshman year, my GPA like was pretty terrible, and I was very focused on sailing and didn't really care much about school. And I definitely figured out how to do both a lot. So I think a lot of it's just a learned practice. Like I would say in some ways, like my family and my high school like prepared me to like handle how to do like all the homework and school aspect. Like it wasn't that new to me, but for some people it definitely was a big transition. But being able to do like the mix of like sailing, school, and the outside part is very important. So being able to like hang out with my teammates outside and like go enjoy New Orleans, go party and do all the other stuff, like it definitely takes like your mind off of that aspect of it. And people keep in check with each other of like how you're doing in school. Like coach will stay on top of it. We have academic staff that'll like help tutor and do all that stuff. So the support's there. It's just about making sure you're like talking to the right people and like reaching out and getting the support that you need.
And then in the adult sailing world, like say out of Annapolis or out of the Annapolis Yacht Club, are there teams that are nationally competing, or are they competing against each other?
There's both. So a lot of it is like you put together a boat and it'll be like me and 2 or 3 other people, and we go and sail against 20 or 30 other boats. And that's like one aspect that's called fleet racing. But the yacht club has something called team racing, where it's 3 boats versus 3 other boats. And we'll fly to like another yacht club around the country and compete against all the other yacht clubs. So we'll sail against like San Diego, New Orleans, New York, like Swan, like Boston. So there's a bunch of that sailing, which is kind of more team oriented.
Is that something you'd like to do?
Yeah, it's something I'm starting to get involved with. I did one regatta in the fall in New Orleans with my dad, which was a lot of fun. And it's like college, where it's like you have your team, and there's like probably 10 of us from Annapolis. Like age range from like me to like mid 50-year-olds, and everyone's like having a lot of fun. Like still there's a lot of camaraderie with the other teams, but it's definitely the side of sailing that I like the most.
And then what does Olympic sailing look like? Sorry, Matt.
Olympics intense. So I actually had a kid on my team last summer who went to the Olympics, and he was sailing for the British Virgin Islands, and it's a whole life process. Like they've been sailing these boats since they were like 13, 14, and you think in 4 to 8 year windows of like how I'm going to be training, what regattas I'm going to be sailing to qualify, and then if you even qualify. The U.S. did not qualify a single boat last year for the class that my friend went to, and these people train for years and do all the regattas and came like a couple places short of making it. So it's not in my future, but it's definitely respectable for people who make it, like Joe Morris.
Ray Morris, hell of a sailor.
I need to know then, what's the America's Cup?
America's Cup that's called match racing. That's one boat versus one boat. And it's evolved recently, as you guys have probably seen. It's got those like big foiling fast boats, kind of like an F1 vibe. But that's like America puts their best team together. New Zealand, all these other countries put their best team together. Sorry. And it's just like one boat versus one boat. Who can beat the other around the course?
And that is, the boats aren't all the same, right? So one country can have better technology than the other country?
Yes.
Yeah. That's like F1, where it's like all these like scientists go out and it's like, how can we make the best boat? Which like isn't my favorite thing. It's great to watch and it would be fun to sail, but it's not like the strategy and the tactics are a little bit different there.
Do you ever follow any of like the sailing and I guess like a sailing engineer or designers and be like, man, that guy has come up with a great boat?
Honestly, I don't know the boats too well. Some of my friends are super into it. I never really found it that interesting for me.
Kind of like the people who are super into cars and the people who just drive them.
Yeah. I like to drive them.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, you want your big questions as Zander chokes away?
So we always like to end it with some fun questions. What is the best boat name you've ever seen or you would like to use?
I'll say our boat name. So my mom's boat, my dad's boat is called Rhythmic Pumping because one time one of the umpires flagged her boat for rhythmic pumping the sail. So we named it Rhythmic Pumping.
What does that mean, rhythmic pumping the sail?
We'll talk about that afterwards, Ty.
Like moving it back and forth.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he's got no rhythm.
All right. So you are arranging a dinner or a golf foursome. You can invite anybody you want, living, historical, fictional, anybody. 4 people.
Wow. Let's see.
Or on a sailing trip around the Caribbean.
All right, sailing trip. Okay, or golf foursome. I would say I'm kind of nerdy about business. I'll get one like really smart, really wealthy, like a Warren Buffett or a Bill Gates type of person. So one smart person. Then I'll want one like really funny person. Like I like Shane Gillis a lot, or maybe like a Drewski. So someone like funny. And then maybe my favorite athlete would be
Matt, smart, funny. He's kind of describing us.
He really is. But he hasn't picked anyone. Everyone he's picked, Shane Gillis and Bill Gates and Buffett, they all burn. So we'll fit right in.
Okay. And then I'll go Tom Brady just because he's like pretty incredible. I'm not like I don't like the Patriots, but I think he's pretty special what he's done. So I think that'd be a good group that I can like learn and enjoy.
Here's my problem with that. I like those guys. I don't see Warren Buffett or Brady being great crew. I don't see them when you're like tight in the gym. They're going to tell you to pound sand.
They'll pay for the boat, so it'll be okay.
All right, that's fair enough.
So where would be your dream place to go sailing? Like as you start switching into leisure sailing?
Dream place to go sailing. So we've done, I think the Galapagos would be like my dream. Like you got like perfect nature, surfing is another big hobby of mine. So that like a boat trip around there, being able to fish, surf, sail, kind of combine all my hobbies.
Do you have any of those planned in the future?
Because we're looking to go. We're looking to go on a surf trip.
Not yet. Call me in 10 to 20 years. I will.
Where are you going tomorrow morning?
So tomorrow morning, I'm doing a 7-week backpacking trip in Asia.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm doing. Me and some of my roommates are doing Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia.
Okay. And what's that going to look like?
It's gonna be awesome. I'm going leave tomorrow morning, get back like right before corn roast.
Okay.
And we're doing
since we hope to have some viewers outside of your home neighborhood, means you're coming back the last week of July.
End of July, yeah.
And then you go right into the real world right after that.
Yeah,
so you
I start right in August. But we're doing a motorcycling tour in northern Vietnam, which will be really cool. Then we're going to Thailand, southern Thailand, Bangkok. And then we're doing a Jack Johnson concert in Bali. Then a lot of surfing in Indonesia is kind of like my goal of the trip.
Is everybody on the trip a big surfer? Like, have they grown up surfing?
There's like two or three of them are. I'm probably the biggest, but I'm not even that good at surfing. But the goal is to just like kind of do it a lot and get better. It's one of my big passions. So
where have you surfed before?
I learned how to surf in like Puerto Rico, Costa Rica. I just did a lesson, but I do a bunch over at Ocean City, Assateague.
Okay.
I actually surfed in New Orleans a bunch this year.
I didn't know there was surfing in New Orleans.
Yeah, it was a 2-hour drive down to the Gulf, and it was like a fun little community, like kind of random that it worked out, but it was kind of a lot of fun.
Okay.
Well, I hope you get that cough figured out before you hit off, or people are going to want you to put a mask on.
We got a couple more questions, so let him get a sip of water and a deep breath. Yeah. we got to cut off the ICU visit.
Yeah. Do you go in there first before you hit the airport? Hit BWI. I recommend it.
So, do you have any inspirational books that have meant a lot to you?
No, I would say so. My favorite book, my sister gave it to me, is The Alchemist.
Oh, I love that book.
And it's my favorite travel book about a guy who's like going through his life journey and like following all these omens and kind of like and the whole moral of the story is like life is about the journey and not the destination. And he finally reaches the destination, but it's all these moments along the way that were really important. And that's my favorite book. It's like there's a lot of little tidbits of wisdom. It's an easy and like fun read for travel. So that's like by far my favorite. And another one I consider like my Bible is How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie. Okay. And that's just like dealing with people, leadership. That's been a big one for me.
So
isn't it crazy how long that book has been around and it still holds the test of time? It's
100%.
Ty's never read that, obviously.
No, I have read that. And I was about to say, have you noticed that every guest we talk to, and I'm like, what book really matters to you? I'm like, oh my gosh, I love that book. And you're sitting over there like you've never read it. And I'm like, Matt, we need to up your reading game here.
My reading game is so strong.
Have you read The Alchemist?
Yes.
Have you started Endurance?
No.
Have you started Whole Body Prayer?
No.
These are all books.
Wait. I'm 3 issues behind on Us Weekly, and then once they get that, we're good.
Okay.
So, we'll put that in for our book club.
So Zander, you're starting your big first sail race out of college. What's your walkout music?
So my walkout song, I like dad kind of stadium rock. Joker and the Thief's like my pump up song.
Okay.
Joker and the Thief.
Ty, do you know Joker and the Thief?
Of course I know Joker and the Thief. Everybody knows Joker and the Thief. You want me to sing it in the key of C?
I do.
Sing it in the key of C? And can you get my guitar? All right. And how about inspirational movie?
Inspirational movie. I would say that this is like not related to sailing. I like Secret Life of Walter Mitty. It's kind of like a travel inspiration that I like.
Yeah.
About this guy like going out and seeing the world.
Have you read
so
that book
Zander?
Also? Like
I haven't actually.
So the book is very different than the movie. The movie was a kind of a modern day adaptation to it, but the book I almost think it might be a short story. I read it like in middle school, but you should read the book also.
Yeah, I would read that. Yeah.
And when you travel like this, will you just like kind of load up your iPad for books, or are you flipping through pages? How are you going to do that?
Yeah, that was kind of like the big debate. Right now, I have one like business book and one book about like Buddhism that someone told me to read.
Which one?
And then I'm bringing my grandmother's Kindle. It's the
My grandmother's Kindle sounds so weird.
the Siddhartha or something.
Siddhartha's a great book. Also, sorry, I read that in like I guess 9th or 10th grade of high school. It's a great one, and I think that's a good name for a boat. Would be my grandmother's Kindle.
Marmy's,
so I'll get someone
Kindle.
there.
Yeah. I think Marmy's Kindle would be even better.
So we have learned a ton in this podcast. I think as a closing question, you're going out into the real world, the business world. What lessons are you taking with you from sailing? That
Actually, a lot. I've definitely learned a lot, but I'd say the one big thing is like really taking care of the little things, and like the task management aspect is like before you're going out sailing, you're checking over every aspect of your boat. You're checking the conditions, the weather, like making sure you're fully prepared. And like last summer in my internship, like I think that's definitely somewhere I excelled, is like laying out the steps that needs to happen for getting the task done, and like methodically moving through those. And like what my old coach used to say is like control the controllables. Yeah. And I think I've gotten really good at that time management and task management through sailing.
Yeah, that'll carry you forever.
So
that's
that
awesome.
Sounds like a lot like surgery. So I'm thinking that I'd be a great sailor. What do you think, Matt?
I do not. You're what they call a heavy. You burn really easily.
The rail meat.
I've seen you on, rail meat. We don't need that. You need like little guys like me. Okay. Oh, I would love that. I could be the skipper, and you'd be my Gilligan.
Okay, you could just yell at me the whole time, and I'd get the job done.
All right, we'll find out. Okay. All right, let's go. Okay. Wednesday night, we'll go down. We'll figure it out. Right. Zander, safe travels, and thanks so much. Actually, we should probably book you for when you get back, because I'd love to hear about this trip.
Yeah,
it sounds awesome.
Fun.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I've been a big fan, so thank you guys for having me on.
Have a great trip. I'm sure you'll love it. Keep us posted.